What do you expect from a motivated Luka?
So I think the premise is flawed. I think that the Dallas Mavericks made a trade that everyone across the league was shocked by. They got back a superstar and a nice role player and a first-round pick, and everyone's like, you didn't get nearly enough. The league is angry that other people weren't alerted that this player was available. Mm-hmm. So having the context of, and here are the things wrong with this player, I think is flawed. I think it is buying into the Mavericks' ludicrous logic that none of us buy into. That, okay, well, listen, there's all these problems with Luka, which is why we traded him at 25 years old. I don't think Luka's a perfect player. I don't know that there is a perfect player in the league. I know that it is now just canon. Luka's wildly out of shape, and it's really hurt him. I don't know, man. He led the league in minutes last year. The guy who was second in minutes last year, Anthony Edwards, they played in a playoff series at the end of the year. When you put their numbers up, I don't know, Luka looked like he had a lot of gas. Anthony Edwards looks like he's carved of granite.
He literally said.
And Anthony Edwards said afterwards, I was exhausted. I've never played this long into a season. Mm-hmm. The next round, Luka was not, didn't play A-plus basketball in the finals. If we want to say that's because he was out of shape, or do we want to say, much like Anthony Edwards, who is in peak physical condition, that any player, the first time with a 90-game, 100-game season, whatever it is, it can be a lot. Most guys in their first finals are not up to their peak performance. It's quite rare. So I just don't buy it. Do I think Luka could do more to be in better shape? It's unclear. Do I think that he needs to improve that part for his career longevity? Absolutely. Do I, though, also think that if Luka changed nothing from last year to this year, he's one of the 3 best players in the world and a guy who in and of himself makes you at least a fringe contender? Yes. So I think that, Brew, you are going to get a chip on your shoulder, Luka, but I think it is insulting to Luka to ask as if without that chip on his shoulder, he was going down the Zion path. And I don't mean to pick.
Okay, this is not insulting. Just stop with this nonsense. Listen, it's very obvious. This is ultimately why the Mavericks moved on from Luka.
I thought it was perfect that Luka fell onto the ground there in an unacceptable position to put himself in with 4 minutes left with 5 fouls, and then immediately looks at the bench and says, you better bleeping challenge it, as if it's the bench's fault that he just made a terrible play. I'm standing here in the Mavericks tunnel. Over there is the Celtics tunnel. That's where the winners are. If Luka's ever going to be a winner coming out of this tunnel here, he is going to have to use what's happened in this finals as a learning experience. His defensive performance is unacceptable. He is a hole on the court. The Celtics are attacking him. They are ahead in this series because they have attacked him defensively. And you've got a situation here where Luka is complaining about the officiating. They have begged him. They have talked with him. They have pleaded with him. He is costing his team because of how he treats the officials. He's a brilliant player. He does so many things well. They are here because of how he did. His performance in this game is unacceptable and the reason why the Mavericks are not going to win. He's got to get over this. And the fact that he came out after the game and blamed the officials showed me he's nowhere close yet. So maybe over the summer somebody will get to him because nobody with the Mavericks or anybody else in his life has. And that's where the Mavericks are at this point. They're never going to get to this tunnel with the trophy if he doesn't improve those aspects of his game.
Yep. That's the answer right there. And this is what I said a couple days ago. And of course, random people were like, you're a clown. You have no idea what you're talking about. And it's like, this is literally Windhurst reporting this. This is from from his direct experience. And I'm not going to act like I love everything he says and all of that. But in terms of his insider information and kind of the conversations that he has with people, I mean, you can't deny it. He's obviously connected in that regard. Any of his extra opinions about, certain players like that, I don't care as much about. But in terms of his actual connections, you can't reject it. You can't deny it. It's just, it's the reality of the situation. So no, I kept arguing that was a fundamental problem for Luka. Now, I'm not saying that the Mavs should have moved on from him. I'm not saying that the solution, that the answer was for them to move on from him. But this was massive contributing factors. They were like, this guy has a terrible attitude. He's costing the team. Yes, he's a great player, but he's out of shape. He's injured a lot. He has not grown or matured. We've tried to reach him. He will not learn and grow. His behavior, his attitude, he's constantly complaining to the refs, and there's no signs of that changing. We do not want to do this for the next 4, 5, 6 plus years. Now, I don't know how much the Mavs tried to really reach Luka to change this. Because like I said, this is what I said in my previous video, that the dude is 25 years old. That he's still a kid. That his brain is still literally maturing. Like, it's a human biological fact. His brain is like still in the process of being fully developed. So you have to imagine over the next couple of years, he'll continue to be more mature, be more willing to grow, etc., etc. But maybe not. Not all players are. And then this idea, and this is also the problem, he's not an American. That is a real thing. As much as people don't want to talk about it, it's a real thing. So reaching him culturally is different. You don't know what it's like to be born and raised in Luka's shoes. You can guess more what it's like to be born and raised in Steph's shoes and LeBron's shoes and KD's shoes. You're closer to that life. Heck, you might have even lived it. Maybe not Steph because his dad was an NBA player, but you understand what I'm saying. So it's just different. We know a lot of these international players like to keep other international people around them because they just don't connect with a lot of these American-born players. It's just different culturally. It just is. So that could be a factor as well. I mean, who knows? I mean, just imagine if some of the things were reversed here, some of the conversations that would be had, but no one can really say it because Luka looks like Luka. But we know if it was someone different, we know. I'll leave that commentary to the side. But let's not act like the criticisms aren't fair, because they are. They're 100% fair. It's also fair to say that Luka is an amazing player. That Luka directly led the Dallas Mavs to the finals, but then also cost them in the NBA finals. That's all fair. And yeah, when you foul out because of your own doing and you look to the bench and yell at the bench, it's like, dude, what? You're playing like you're a 17-year-old. And if they felt that he still was not growing and he was still continuing this trajectory, they were like, you know what? We can't win this way. And again, I'm not saying it was the right decision. I'm truly not. But players like Luka can be brutal to play with. They can. And other people said like, oh, well, what about Kobe and MJ? I saw all these comparisons. It's like, this is like trading Kobe in 03 or MJ in 89 or something. And it's like those players all had insane work ethics. They all lived and breathed for ball. And they had awesome personalities in that regard. They cared so much. And to have Brian Windhorst give that whole breakdown, during that game, like you could tell him, like he was fired up and was like, this is insane what I'm watching. If that's what he felt, can just imagine what the Dallas Mavericks felt. And again, this is based off of his conversations with the organization. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, you can reject some of his conclusions, but you can't reject him relaying what he's being told. He's too well respected and too well connected. And that's just the nature of the media within the NBA. So again, if you want to disagree with when he says, oh, Allen Iverson wouldn't be good in the modern era or something like that, that's fine. I don't care about his other colored, opinions about basketball or about certain players. But I do care about his ability to reach players and teams and all of that I don't have access to. And so, he's incredibly well, trusted in that regard, without a shadow of a doubt. So I encourage you to take what he's saying and kind of digest it. So don't buy into this whole nonsense of this is ridiculous, because it's not ridiculous. This had been a long time coming in terms of the issues with Luka. Yes, he is a special player. Yes, he also causes problems. Those are always difficult to figure out what you do, how to manage it. Which is why we see this a lot. As soon as a player is no longer as great as they once were, they no longer are willing to accept the any of the cons. AB, Tom Brady's willing to accept and willing to kind of navigate that treacherous road. Wins a Super Bowl, things get a little rocky, and they're like, all right, goodbye, we're done with you. You're no longer as great. You're no longer worth the headache. I imagine Luka, for the most part, is still worth the headache, but I don't know. It's easy from the outside to say, of course he is. It's easy. But I don't know. Doesn't feel like the Dallas Mavericks had the infrastructure to be able to facilitate this. Now, Luka could turn the corner, but it very well could be because of all of this stuff. As he even said, big motive for a long run here. But I don't know. Those things are always what people say in those moments. It's like when you break up with someone. You're like, I've never been happier. I'm finally free. And then a week later, you're all sad and depressed. And you're like, I miss her. Please come back. So, I think in order to really see who Luka will be, the type of player he'll be, his evolution, it'll take time. It's also like if you break up with someone and you get back together with them and you're like, I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to text you. I'm going to buy you dinner. I'm going to love you forever. I'll never get mad at you again. And the first couple of weeks, you're both on your best behavior. And then a couple of weeks later, you're not texting her good morning. It's like, why do I got to text you good morning, man? I got to text you good morning every single day for the rest of my life. Are you crazy? I can't do that. And of course, we're still going to get mad and fight. What am I supposed to just never get mad ever again? We're never going to fight again? It's impossible. And then you break up again. And the cycle continues. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Luka and the criticisms that he's facing right now? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.